So my worst nightmare turned into my greatest blessing. I really can't go into details, but all I can tell you is when I was hit with an obstacle that was overwhelming, I had to come up with a plan to renovate and fix step by step. And it took me a year. My worst nightmare turned into my biggest blessing, but it took me a year to get there. And it taught me something. Having the vision, quantum connecting, faith, believing, planning, praying. When you're hit with something, you say, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get there, Lord. One step at a time. One step at a time. And it was like, I knew I could see the vision, but it was just a matter of all the steps. I mean, it was a lot of steps to get there. And I still have some more steps to do, but I've already entered into the cornucopia of it. I'm in the cornucopia, but I got to maintain it. And then as I maintain the cornucopia blessing, it should multiply even more and faster next time, because what I've learned about myself is really more worth gold right there. And also what I've learned about setting new patterns. I know this sounds crazy, but even with a place, you can set a pattern in a place. You can set, so there's this sounds crazy, but I really believe this. When there's a pattern that's been set at a property, at a location, over the years, a long pattern, you have to set a new pattern. And sometimes it's blood, sweat, and tears to set that new pattern and to push through to the other side. And once that new pattern is set, the old pattern has to go away. You've got some of these patterns you've got to break that are like been around for ages, years, decades, hundreds of years, because a lot of it's a culture pattern, it's a bloodline pattern, it's your own thoughts, it's a flesh mind pattern versus a spirit mind pattern. And it's not only, let's say you have a goal and people around you don't even know. I mean, there's patterns, there's influences around you. You know you've got to stay focused on that goal, and people around you say, well, go take a vacation, go do something, go somewhere. And if you step off your goal, it takes you longer to get there. And you say, no, I'm not going on vacation. I'm focusing on my cornucopia vision. And then once the year is up and you've achieved it, nobody's going to remember they even said, step off course, step off your focus. They don't even remember. Take a break, take a vacation. It's like people were trying to pull me, but it was not them. It was a spirit battle. They didn't even know that they were being used. It's like, no, you don't understand. I've got a lot I got to do. I mean, a lot. And it was just one day at a time. And every time I take 3 steps forward, 1 step back. 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And as many times, I would need like $300. I would need like $300 to get some material or something, or buy a refrigerator or something like that. And I'd say, okay, I need $300 to get this next. I had all these steps I had to take. So I'd get in the Uber. I'd get on the Uber app, and I'd, boom, $300 just appear. Then I'd go to work. 2 weeks later, I need $200 for blinds, for paint and blinds. So I got to drive Uber for a few days. It takes me off my work, but I got to make the money to buy it. So I work. There's $200 just appeared. Boom! Right when you need it, it appeared. I need to buy a replacement window. $150, and somebody up the street says, "Hey, I got some windows. If you're interested." I said, "Okay, yeah." Boom! Reframed a window for free. A free window. I mean, it was just one step at a time. One step at a time. And it's like, is it over? Is it really over? I mean, it's never over, but is it really here? Last year at this time, when I walk in and I see such a disaster, and I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to get this done? I said, I can't do it all at once. I'm going to have to just take the next 6 months to a year to do it. It took a year. It was a disaster. It was such a disaster. There's not even any words to explain it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It was so bad. I took pictures of it. It was so bad that it's like, this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. So step one was to pay some people to help me. It was such a mess. I had to pay $200 just to get people to clean it out and call the city to get it all hauled off. It was just so bad. It was ridiculous. Then, before even I had to do that, I had to spend money on an eviction. And it's like one step at a time, one step at a time. Whew. I had to go to the courthouse. It's just unbelievable. Everything that I went through. I don't even know how I did it, to be honest with you. It was just one step at a time. Cutting down trees, putting a roof on, cutting vines, getting on my hands and knees and cutting vines. Spent 4 hours in 90-degree weather cutting up vines out of the yard. I mean, it's just so hard to even fathom. I don't even have words for it. I'm still not done, but the cornucopia is there. The cornucopia flow is there, and people are being helped. We're talking about 20-year patterns. More than that. We're talking about 40-year patterns being changed in a year. And it's still not done. I mean, it's just, if I was to say, hey, if I was to say, okay, to get to 100% where I want to be, I would say I'm probably at 60% right now, but the cornucopia is there even at 60%. So I can't imagine what it's going to be when I hit 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. Then it's going to be super abundance, you know? And it's like one step at a time, one step at a time. But what I learned is really the motivation. The internal motivation is the issue. Somebody asked me something. What was the biggest struggle? About a few weeks ago, she said, sent me a text. What's the biggest struggle you had? And I said, it's the internal. Getting up, knowing that the goal is a year. I didn't know if it was going to be 2 years or a year. I didn't know how long it was going to be. But getting up and having that internal intestinal fortitude to keep going. That was the battle. That was the worst battle. The heat, the cold, the daily problems that you're dealing with. You got to deal with your health stuff. You got to deal with your food stuff, regular stuff. I mean, the warfare was mainly internal, more than anything. It's mainly internal. I drove all the way up here to a bank to make a cash deposit, and the bank had shut down. Now, can you believe that? That's the kind of battle I'm talking about. Those stuff like that just doesn't make sense. That bank's been there forever, and now it's shut down. It's like, come on, people. So I have the utmost respect for project managers now that can actually get a job done, a big job, and push people. I mean, the biggest thing is pushing yourself, but pushing people is another big thing. But I wasn't pushing anybody else. I was pushing myself to the next level, you know. And I still don't even feel like I was at the next level. I feel like I still got things I got to change and work on, because I could have got there in 6 months instead of a year, but it's like, at least I got there. I'm just talking. I'm just telling. Maybe one day somebody out there, since time is not real, somebody will hear something in this that they needed to hear. If you have a project and you see the vision and you know it can be done, but you have all these obstacles, don't give up. And when people try to pull you to the left or to the right, or get your focus back onto their ship or their stuff or their drama or their chaos or their trouble, stay focused. I mean, really, there was a lot of stuff happening in that year that was like, it was like the same stuff I've dealt with my whole life, but for some reason I was able to overcome it. All the stuff that hindered me in the past, I was able to overcome. And a lot of it had to do with cutting back sugar and fasting. I mean, there was a time when I was so close to getting, I just had to get something done, and I knew it would take me a month to finish this one part. So I just went to war. I shaved my head. I just wanted to go to work, then go do some work, my stuff, just work 12, 14, 16-hour days to get past that one point. And then once I got past, after 30 days of just total warfare, I took a break, and then I said, oh, I got another battle. So then I had to do another 30 days over another issue. And it just kept on and on. And then finally, after I was like 50% complete, then I had this other battle. And I thought, man. So the weather was good. So after work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I went over and worked 2 hours every day, and I finally got that part done after working all day. And it was more than 2 hours, because after I would work 2 hours, I'd go get the supplies for the next day. I would prepare for the next day. So I'd work 2 hours, go spend 30 minutes to an hour getting the supplies I needed for the next day. And it's like, and then during that whole year, I would be using my vehicle with the seats down, knowing that I had to do some Uber runs to pay for it. So I'd have to go do the work with the seats down, go to the machine to get your car vacuumed out, and then go do Uber. Work all day, work a few hours, and do some Uber. Go clean the car and do some Uber. It's like, this is ridiculous. This is insane. But I had my vision. I had my vision. I had the vision. It's wild. And then there was times where I would think, I need this, but it's going to cost me this. And then I'd come across it on the side of the road. I'd pull over and get the wood that I needed. Actually, somebody gave me like $1,000 worth of wood that I could use somewhere. It's just, I got it wrapped up in plastic in front of the house. It's got to be $1,000 worth of wood. And it's like, stuff like that just kept happening for the whole year. It's like, I needed to buy a little refrigerator, efficiency. It was on sale for $150. I was like, all right. So I just charged it, and then I worked with Uber to pay it off, you know. And during that whole time, I was studying medical, and I was getting in shape. Man, it's like the battles were just kept hitting me. And I was just taking it one day at a time. One day at a time. Blood, sweat, and tears every week for a year. It was warfare. I'm still in it, but see what I was doing, and I look back, what I was doing, I was setting new patterns. Set new patterns, completely new patterns, and the old patterns, I call them ghost. The ghost patterns, they always try to come back, and usually they come back in the form of people. The ghost patterns, they come back, and there will be people will speak words they don't even know what spirit is speaking through them, and you're like, what? That's something that was said when I was a kid, or when I was married, or when I was a teenager, or when, you know, I was in college or something. That's the same kind of negativity that came out of, and these, see what you're dealing with. Here's what you're dealing with. Everybody's dealing with this. Your self-talk. Look at that. See that car just pulled in front of me? And they still didn't see me. You just cut me off. That lady didn't even, I guess she's drunk. She about had a wreck and didn't even know she was going to have a wreck. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. So you got this major goal you're working on. You got daily silly stuff like that happening. Stupid stuff. Anyway, what you're dealing with are... what you're really dealing with in life is the self-talk. If there's a hindrance, if there's a goal, if there's an obstacle, if there's a mountain, if there's something to stand in the way, you're dealing with the self-talk that's been bombarded by your family, by your friends, by your neighbors, by the TV, by your own thoughts, by the devil, the world, the flesh, pride, life. You're being bombarded with these negative thoughts that you have to bring captive and bring under subjection. I'll give you an example. So let's say I needed I needed some flooring, and I knew it was going to cost me whatever, $400. And I'm sitting there with a self-talk like, how am I going to come up with $400? I'm ready to do flooring. Where am I going to come up with $400? And then the next thing you know, somebody says, hey, I got some flooring you can have. We don't want to carry it back to Georgia. You can just load it on your car right now and you can have it for free. And sure enough, I did it, and I had to put the flooring down. But I tried to do it the way they said, and it wasn't working. So I did it the way I wanted to do it, and it worked smooth. So the day that I started, what I learned is when you hit an obstacle, treat it like a simulation. Don't let it discourage you. Just treat it like a simulation. Even if you have to start over with something, that's okay. You learned from it. Treat it as a simulation. So whatever you're doing, even if you have to tear it apart and start back over, that's okay, because you learned from it. And that's a big lesson. Don't get upset. Don't get discouraged. Say, okay, it was a lesson. It was an expensive lesson because of my labor and the material, but it was a lesson all the same, and you learned a lot, you know. That's one. I could write a book on this. I could write a book on this. And then there's other things that hit you that are out of your control, that other people are trying to obligate you to be a part of, and you have to be a part of certain things. And it's like, don't you know I'm working on a goal and I don't have time for this? And the answer is no, they don't care. They don't know, and they don't care. And it's all about what they need right then. And so you just have to. Actually, I'm gonna go in here, and this lady here that works here, she knows about what I've been doing. I'm gonna tell her when I go in here that I finished. Today I fell off a ladder, hit my head. I put a towel on the back of my head to see if I was bleeding, and I wasn't, so I had to go back to work. You know, it was crazy.